Now for something completely identical. We are going to do the Lxd install on Windows, again, on a more powerful machine. So we go to my name, mikelev.in/ux. It will forward you to this location where you can select all, copy, new, text document, Control A, install.bat, yes, right click, edit, paste, save, close, and now I can install it without Chrome. I'm going to do this just in sort of the default way right now, and I'll do a Chrome one later. Run as administrator. Here comes the bunny. Hit enter. And this is kind of like my last two videos, or the ending of two videos ago. And the same as the last video, except on a more powerful machine and without doing the big install, including Chrome. So this is a bit more optimistic as to what your experience would be like. And this is the first time doing it on this machine with this install script. I've done WSL and Lxd stuff in the past on here, but this is the first time this latest version of what you just saw me paste on the desktop here has been tested on this machine. I've narrated what you see here quite a few times. It's mostly looking at Ubuntu Linux upgrades. So, whereas in Windows, you go here and you go to settings and then you go to updates and you check for new updates and you let them install. This is the equivalent of that on Linux. This is what it looks like on Debian varieties of Linux, of which Ubuntu is. Ubuntu is a Debian-derived Linux. So it uses the apt update to get a list of all the latest stuff that's available, and then an apt upgrade to upgrade anything you have on your machine that has newer versions out there. So I believe this is the upgrading of that we're seeing now. So after this Ubuntu 18.04 is all updated and upgraded, I then activate systemd on it, which you'll see in a moment. Microsoft does not ship their Linuxes that you can get from WSL with systemd installed and turned on. So that's what I just do there. I turn that on. And once you have that, you can install Lxd. This is a Linux container system like Docker. And so that is putting on another version of Linux, right? So whereas we're currently under 18.04, this 18.04 Ubuntu is going to be hosting a 20.04 Ubuntu. A lower version is hosting a higher version. And this process here doesn't succeed unless you run the script as administrator. So, that was from me right-clicking here and run as administrator. You'd have to do the same from PowerShell if you were doing it under PowerShell. Now that the container is installed, it installed a device to let communication occur between the Windows host and the lib and a server that's going to be running under Lxd. And that was the apt update. And this is the apt upgrade. So there's, you get a pair of apt updates and apt upgrades, one for the WSL machine and one for the Lxd machine. Once that's done, I install Python 3.10.7 at the time of this video. That's the latest. It just came out earlier this month. I install the virtual environment system, VENV, not the virtual ENV, but VENV, that's the standard one. Once I add that, I put a bunch of symbolic links to the host operating system, and now I'm doing the Jupyter lab server install. And you're going to see this is much quicker than the last two videos because it's so much less software being installed. Chrome explodes out the time requirements. Anything graphics-wise explodes out the time requirements. And there, it's installed. We can just close out of this. It tells you to hit enter to release the window, and we can do that, or we can just close it out. It doesn't matter. We're pretty much through with that. But now that this has occurred, you can see I don't have a special app icon set up for launching Jupyter. So we just go into our normal web browser. And from our web browser, we can visit localhost 8888. That's Jupyter. It's Jupyter server being served from a server that's running in the background. We hit login. And here is, where I left off before. When I did a demo a few times back, I created this, my first notebook in here. We can go up. And this location here is a location that we can get to through Windows. You just go into this machine, your home directory on this machine, which is your username. And I have a repos directory here, repos. So there is that new repo. If I go over here and create a new folder, another, I'll just call it another. I'll go over here, you'll see another get created right there. I could create a text file here. So even though there's a Linux, even though it's Linux going on, the integration between Linux and the operating system, Windows, is almost complete. This is a Linux terminal from the last time I ran this. I can get out of the terminal. That's my hello world from before, where I proved to you a few things. But this kind of gets the point across, right? There's not much more to it than that. Things are set up for graphics. Oh, well, before I should bank this as a nice big win, but I'll show you making it into a full screen app, because really this is a browser. You've got your tab here, there's an address bar here, there's screen real estate being wasted. This is not as elegant as, say, if you installed Jupyter Lab Desktop from GitHub using the Microsoft installer, the MSI installer. To make it that elegant, you go to the three dots, you go to apps, and you say install as an app, Jupyter Lab. Okay. It's going to close the browser instance of it. It's going to open the full screen version of it. I like to uncheck pin to taskbar, hit allow. We can close out of the browser entirely, and now it's running like a full screen app. And close out of that, and we can get back to it again now through your start menu. Here it is. I did this example before, right? So I am going to uninstall that version, and hopefully it keeps this version installed, the one we just did. We go into, they're identical though, so it goes in, it goes to port 8888 on localhost, and there, that quickly it's back up. So the performance is really much better than my last few videos probably indicated, is because I was doing so much. Oh yeah, after a reboot, that server is not going to be running invisibly in the background. Wait, what? There's something running invisibly in the background? Well, yes. If you go over and you open a PowerShell, how to tell what's going on is you can WSL -list. That's going to show you your WSL instances. Again, here I have a 20.04 for other uses, journaling and stuff, and then the 18.04 for LXD. So I can WSL to the distro, -d for distro, Ubuntu -18.04, exactly as it appears, very important. And now it logs me in there. Now it not only logs me into the WSL, it bumps me right down into the container because of the bash startup that I have on WSL, right? So here we can now do screen -ls, right? You can see the screen program is hosting a session called Jupyter. We can do screen -reattach to this session called Jupyter. There's the server. That's the Jupyter server right there connected to this. If I were to create a new notebook, creating new notebook in another, let's do hello world, which I so like to do. Because, you know, hello world, how complicated it is on each computing platform tells you about it. So that's the hello world program on Python under Jupyter. Kernel started. I guess it doesn't show you every single move you make. But what else to show you? I get one last thing. So after this quits, and you can quit it by Control-C in here. Watch this. Control-C. Exit it out. If we were to do screen-ls again, there's no screens there. Does that mean this stops working? Why, yes. Yes, indeed. It does mean it stops working. Reload app. Yeah, sure, try and reload it. But it can't because the server's not running. So I know how to manually start the server here. That is something that, you know, you can do. But I'm going to do a different way because no one's going to want to log into all those steps just to get this back. So we're going to go back to Edge. I'm going to go back to the install script, right? MikeLev.in/ux, Mike Levinix. Get it? And then the message at the bottom that I print out at the end of the phase. Let's see. Here. The message that I print out at the end. Oh, do I not print out the message in this file? Huh. Well, it was at the end of the install script. That means it comes from install.sh. I happen to know I can get to it through this, but I'm going to have to be more clear about it. This is part of my debugging. This is the other side of this of the script. And so here's all the messages that I print out. And it says, to start Jupyter after a reboot, make a Windows shortcut and set the target to this. Copy, all right. New shortcut. Type the location of the item. I guess that's the target. Paste. Next. The name of the shortcut. Now we're going to call it Start Jupyter. If I could spell it right. All right, so we'll do a before and after, right? So remember we got this virtual screen thing going on here. This is the thing that isn't running, but because it's on the desktop, I can put that over here. So refresh, refresh, refresh. But if we double click this, it opens a new PowerShell, it logs in, and we can just close that now. We can do Linux stuff there if we want, but we can close that, and now we do a refresh, and it's back. That's how you restart the server with a shortcut from your desktop, right? It does not have to be technical login stuff. Once you run my install script, all you need to do in order to get the server back after a reboot is create that little shortcut. And I'll make other videos covering it better in the future, I suppose, make some web content for it. But if you go into properties, you'll just see the target. That's the start. And the target here is a slightly expanded out version, right? So they put the full path in here. But the command we pasted starts from about here, right? They put in the .exe. But the rest of it is identical. It's not a very long command. That's the whole command that gets set as the target. And that is safe to rerun now. So even though we have Jupyter running here full screen, we can go to a different window and we can use that same shortcut just to get a generic Linux prompt that's where Jupyter's being run from. See, virtual environment, Lxd container, where your repos are. So just like the way I created a new folder from Windows and it showed up over here, I go up one more directory, another new repo temp transfer, mkdir foo. Right? It's this lovely complete integration between all these different environments, so your work is never lost. If you back up these locations, you're like so golden. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Hope to see you using Linux Jupyter soon. hope to see you using Linux soon. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, all the rest of it. Later, gators.